Yeah, it's actually quite crazy when you start thinking about the monster capital misallocation that's actually been going on in an environment where by printing more of the units of account, they think they're creating more value, but there's the same number of services and products out there. So that's not the case. And
can I elaborate on that? Sorry, Jake, please. Just a little. It's worse than that, because here's the thing, right? Like I'm not too ideological on certain things, but the Keynesians have a point in theory, maybe in the same way that the communists have a point in theory, but they have a point in the sense that if you can put more money into the system when it is needed, and this is the big one, and you can invest that sensibly, it's not a bad thing. So if I expand the money supply, but I use that new money to create businesses that create even more value, then I can have an expansion of the monetary supply and increase prosperity. Mathematically, that's true. The problem with it is that it's not often spent. So the Australian government just last night released their latest budget. We're $1 trillion in debt next year. We're spending $45 billion more than we have. The trouble is we always do the deficit thing. We never do the surplus thing. We never balance it out. But the bigger problem, an equally big problem, is that it's not just that there's $45 billion that we don't have that we're spending or either borrowing for the future or we're just outright monetizing, is that we're putting that into very low return or negative return ventures. That's what destroys value. And so when I say it's worse than what you say, it's worse for two reasons. It's worse because not only is the money going up, but all that money has been put into areas that are not creating value, in fact, destroying value, distorting the economy, interrupting the price signal, funding businesses that are sucking up the scarce resources with alternate uses, as Thomas Sowell would say, right? Like malinvestment takes resources away from where they're best used and uses them somewhere where they're worst used. We're all poorer as a result of that. So sorry to go on a short rant there, but it's like, I'm agreeing with you, but it's worse than that.
And rants are what this is all about. Like it's like what does fucking grind your gears? And that's what, in some ways, is how you build conviction, right? You're like, oh. And I'll absolutely believe this to be true, that the most important vote you have is with your money. So by choosing to sell assets that are denominated in your local fiat currency and moving into Bitcoin, that is the biggest signal you can give to whatever malinvestment you might see going on. And, we could get into like, what is the welfare state and like, what are taxes and all this kind of more libertarian stuff that I've grown to really enjoy. It's not I never studied it. I studied Keynesian economics, right? It's like, yeah, cool. We can play around with the interest rate. That helps with inflation. That will also help with employment. And then we're going to have extra growth. And then actually no one's even going to notice that we printed more money. Oh, Jake, 10 years later, shit, maybe they paid for the whole university. Oh my God. Like, why did I get taught that?
Yeah.
And it took a long time. I mean, another thing I've said before as well is I was highly trained in how to make money, but not how to like ask the question, what is money?
Yes.
And so the day that you go,
we're all fish in water, aren't we?
Hang on. What do you mean the denominator of everything is actually just losing value?
Mm-hmm.
And in particular, real estate, I think, is the best one for this, because it's like, oh, everyone's getting rich selling these houses. Yeah, sure. But you bought that house 2 years ago. You've done nothing to it but live in it. And now it costs 20% more.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that you added value. That doesn't make sense.
Yep.
But
how much money have we as a country wasted? I give the comparison to the Easter Islanders with the giant head statues. That's what we've done as a nation. We have created ungodly amounts of money through the banking system, and we've put it all into unproductive assets, i.e. houses. And we see it as a magic money machine that will create prosperity. I mean, houses are wonderful. They're the best thing ever, because shelter is like one of the most important needs a human can have. And we all want a nice cave to live in, right? Of course. I've got nothing against property. Property is wonderful. I love property. But we've financialized the whole thing. And we've financialized an asset that doesn't produce anything. So that like money that could have been put into technology and factories and business and enterprise, things that make capital goods that are used to make other things. In other words, to increase our material wealth. We haven't done that. We've just put it all in houses. So it's a completely fake wealth. I say to my friends all the time, I've got friends who are in property, and like, oh, my property's worth this amount. It's like, great, spend it. You can't. You either have to downsize massively. So, okay, you want to go and live in a tent. Now you've got a bunch of free capital you can spend that you didn't have. But presumably, most of us like to improve our lifestyle, not decrease it. So unless you're at the very end of life where you're downsizing, and even downsizers never really downsize if you know any boomers, right? Like they'll say they're going to, but never do. So it's like, well, you're buying and selling in the same market, right? So it's sort of like there's that problem. Or you can use it, or you've got extra collateral to spend. But then that's just spending debt that presumably has to be paid back either through your earnings or, fingers crossed, through the ongoing appreciation of this non-productive asset. It's madness. It's absolute madness. And there'll be a reckoning at some point, I've got no doubt.
Yeah, and it's funny when you, even start to peel back, specifically with real estate, it's like average income to average house price, and how that, again, what the fuck happened in 1971.com. Go and have a look. Just chart beyond chart beyond chart, showing how the real standard of living has deteriorated in the last 50 years. And that's what's, I think, so excited about Bitcoin specifically. Like in your story, Andrew, that you tell today is not an uncommon one in this area that we're so passionate about. But you just don't realize that by using the money that you were given, you're actually you're giving life to something that's making things worse for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, there's this new thing that, sound money, no one's ever been taught about, because it's a niche area of economics that they don't really like people knowing about, because it means that the government can't spend whatever money it wants and inflate away the rest. It's a radically different world.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better from 4 years ago, having done a reallocation process, and now, to echo your point, ask a man what he owns, not what he thinks. I want to see what your portfolio is. That tells me everything.